The clock showed 7:15 when I noticed his absence. Our home carried an uncommon stillness, the type of quiet that settles heavy in your lungs and draws attention to every groan of aging wood beneath your feet. I occupied my usual spot in the living area, amber lamplight throwing elongated shapes across the plaster, my gaze drifting repeatedly toward the timepiece. Alex, my grandson of 21 years, possesses an adventurous spirit that occasionally overrides his better judgment. He typically sends a message when delayed, yet this particular evening my device remained disappointingly blank. I began moving restlessly through the rooms, annoyed initially. He certainly knows how to keep me alert, and slowly that annoyance transformed into concern, not alarm, not quite yet, but an intuitive feeling that tonight carried something unusual. The hinges groaned, just as I considered reaching out to him. There he stood, posture deflated in a manner that instantly communicated this wasn't his typical self-assured arrival. He offered a weak smile that failed to brighten his features. "Hello, Grandma," he murmured, his tone quieter than normal. "Alex, you're quite late," I replied, attempting sternness, though my voice revealed my concern. "Is everything all right?" He paused, then acknowledged almost invisibly. "Yes, I had something requiring discussion first. May we sit?" We relocated to the sofa, its fabric aged but welcoming beneath us. Beyond the windows, daylight's final moments were disappearing, and I detected the far-off rumble of vehicles and sporadic barking from nearby homes. I observed the strain in his fingers as he played with his sleeve. I'd never witnessed him in this state. His characteristic confidence replaced by delicate openness that caused my chest to tighten. "I wasn't certain how to approach you," he started, and I shifted closer because that's when I understood whatever this was mattered deeply that I pay attention. And so I did. For an extended moment nothing existed except our respirations and the peaceful house surrounding us, the recognizable fragrance of vanilla from the decorative candle on the shelf occupying the space between us. He raised his eyes to mine, and in that glance, I recognized trust. Absolute, unprotected trust. My insides tightened slightly, but in the most genuine way, because when someone reveals their soul to you, it's simultaneously frightening and magnificent. "Grandma, I'm uncertain how to express this," he breathed, "but I need you to comprehend me, truly comprehend me." And in that instant, I understood that tonight would become one of those evenings I'd never release from memory. I didn't possess the complete picture yet, but I sensed it would alter how I perceived my grandson, and perhaps even myself. We remained in silence for several additional seconds, and then he began speaking, gradually, revealing something I hadn't expected, a disclosure that was as gentle as it was significant. I could sense the room drawing inward with us, suspending its breath alongside mine. By the time he stopped, I understood whatever followed wouldn't be straightforward, but it would be authentic. And authentic, I have discovered, is always worthy of attention. I inhaled deeply, attempting to stabilize myself. There was something about how Alex regarded me, uncertain, almost frightened of my response, that made my ribcage constrict. I could discern this wasn't merely a tale he wished to share. It was a fragment of him he had been bearing alone, and finally he had decided to include me. "Grandma," he commenced, his voice wavering slightly, "I've been wrestling with how I perceive myself, how I belong, and I didn't wish to weigh you down, but I cannot continue this pretense anymore." He stopped, examining my expression for any trace of criticism. I offered him a small, comforting smile, motivating him to continue. "You understand how everyone anticipates me to simply know my desires, to have everything resolved." His fingers trembled nervously, and I extended my hand, allowing him to grasp it. It was a minor gesture, but it appeared to anchor him. "I've been attempting to be what everyone anticipates, but it's not genuinely me. And tonight, something occurred that made me recognize I must be truthful with myself and with you." I acknowledged slowly. My heart was expanding with a blend of worry and respect. The young man before me was opening a threshold he'd kept secured for so long, and the bravery it required was almost touchable. "What occurred tonight?" I inquired gently, not wanting to pressure him, just wanting him to feel secure enough to communicate. He gazed down at his hands again. "I encountered someone, and it wasn't merely casual. It felt genuine, and I've never experienced this way previously. I didn't know if I could share this with you, because I was afraid you might not comprehend." His voice fractured slightly, and I pressed his hand. "Alex," I stated, my voice composed, unwavering, "you can share anything with me. You've always been my grandson, and that doesn't transform. I desire to comprehend you always." He inhaled deeply, and I could observe the tension in his shoulders beginning to diminish, even if just slightly. "It's someone I care about profoundly, and it feels like I've been bearing this burden alone for too long, and now I don't have to." He regarded me with an intensity that made my eyes burn. "I needed you to know, Grandma, because you're the one person I trust entirely." The room appeared smaller suddenly, the boundaries pressing inward with the warmth of our shared existence. Beyond, the night had completely arrived, and the peaceful hum of the neighborhood enclosed us like fabric. I could detect the subtle aroma of tea from the cup I had abandoned on the table earlier, but it barely registered. My focus was entirely on him. "You're my family, Alex," I expressed, my voice breaking just slightly, "and nothing about this transforms how much I love you. I'm proud of you for being truthful. That's not easy to accomplish." He released a trembling laugh, a mixture of relief and astonishment. "I was so frightened that you might, I don't know, not embrace me." "Oh, darling," I whispered, drawing him into a tender embrace. "I will always embrace you. Always. There's nothing you could ever express that would make me love you any less. And I'm thankful you trusted me enough to share this." We remained like that for an extended moment. The type of silence that isn't hollow, but complete with comprehension, relief, and unspoken love. I recognized then that these moments, the ones that arrive unexpectedly and quietly transform everything, are the ones you retain forever. By the time he withdrew, the tension had diminished noticeably. He regarded me, a small, thankful smile forming on his lips, and I knew that this night, this conversation would become a memory neither of us would ever release. It wasn't merely about his disclosure. It was about the trust, the connection, and the bond that had strengthened between us. And for the first time that evening, I felt an overwhelming sense of tranquility. After that lengthy pause, we finally settled back into the sofa, the soft cushions embracing us like a familiar hold. Beyond, the night had completely wrapped the neighborhood. Street lamps projected long, gentle streaks across the grass, and the breeze stirred the trees in a calming rhythm. For a moment, the house felt insulated, just the two of us in a peaceful world of our own creation. Alex reclined back, finally permitting himself to relax, and I could observe the tension in his shoulders dissolving away. "Grandma," he stated quietly, "I didn't just want to share about tonight. I'd wanted to discuss how I've been experiencing all of it, the confusion, the fear, the excitement," I acknowledged, motivating him to continue. "I had learned long ago that sometimes the finest thing you can offer someone is simply to listen. Really listen without interruption or criticism. It's difficult," he continued. "It's difficult to determine who I am, what I desire, and how to be truthful without feeling like I'm disappointing people. I keep doubting myself." He regarded me with those wide, searching eyes, and I felt an ache in my chest. He was so young, yet bearing so much burden on his own. "Alex," I stated softly, "discovering yourself isn't simple for anyone, at any age. What matters is that you're attempting, and more than that, you're brave enough to discuss it, to share it with someone you trust. That's not a small thing, that's tremendous." He released a breath he appeared to have been retaining for hours. "I was afraid you'd think I was, I don't know, making errors or that you'd be disappointed." I smiled gently, reaching over to smooth his hair back from his forehead. "Darling, disappointment isn't what I experience. Pride, yes. Love, yes, but disappointment never. Life is about learning, exploring, discovering who we are. And sometimes that means making errors. That's how we develop." He chuckled softly, a sound that carried relief and a little amusement at himself. "I suppose I've been so worried about being flawless, I forgot that nobody is." "That's the truth," I stated. "Nobody is flawless, and anyone who claims otherwise is either dishonest or hasn't lived long enough to know better." I could observe a flicker of a smile on his lips, and my heart expanded. For the following while, we discussed his aspirations, his fears, the little things that burdened him down, and the moments that brought him happiness. I shared stories from my own youth, the times I felt uncertain and afraid, and the choices I made that formed who I am today. Laughter blended with quiet reflection, and the space between us filled with a deep, unspoken comprehension. At one point, he reached over and pressed my hand. "I'm glad I shared this with you, Grandma. I feel lighter somehow, like a fragment of me I was concealing isn't so heavy anymore. You don't have to bear it alone. I reminded him. Not ever. That's what family is for. By the time he stood to exit the living room and head to his bedroom, the tension that had attached to him earlier had almost entirely dissolved. He paused at the threshold and looked back at me, a small, thankful smile illuminating his face. Thanks for listening. For really listening, he stated. I acknowledged, feeling a warmth in my chest that I hadn't experienced in years. Always, Alex, always. As the door closed behind him, I sank back into the sofa, inhaling deeply. The house was quiet again, but it wasn't the same silence as before. This silence was gentle, filled with reflection and a newfound closeness. I recognized that moments like these, honest, vulnerable, and human, were what truly made life rich and meaningful. And for the first time that night, I permitted myself to marvel at how much love and trust could grow in just a single evening. The following morning, sunlight poured through the curtains, projecting a soft radiance over the living room. The house felt warmer somehow, infused with the quiet aftermath of honesty and connection. I occupied my favorite chair with a cup of tea, the steam spiraling into the air like gentle reminders that life moves slowly, beautifully, and often unexpectedly. Alex appeared in the doorway, rubbing sleep from his eyes. He looked calmer today, more grounded, as if the burden of yesterday's confession had lifted a little from his shoulders. Morning, Grandma, he stated softly. Morning, darling, I replied, smiling. Sleep well. Better than I have in weeks, he admitted, walking over to sit beside me. There was a new lightness in his demeanor, a quiet confidence that hadn't been there before. I recognized that sometimes just being heard, truly heard, can feel like the first step toward freedom. We sat together drinking tea in comfortable silence, the kind that doesn't need words because it already expresses everything. The house smelled faintly of baked bread from the day before, and the soft ticking of the clock marked a rhythm that felt almost sacred. Grandma, Alex stated after a while, I've been thinking about what you expressed last night, about life, about developing, about making errors, and you're right, I don't have to have it all determined now. I just need to be truthful with myself and with people I trust. You've taken a significant step, Alex, I stated gently. Not everyone has the courage to accomplish that. It's a lifelong journey, and each step matters. He regarded me, then really regarded me, and I observed gratitude, relief, and something else, a quiet determination to embrace who he truly was. I'm glad I have you to guide me, Grandma. Even when I stumble, knowing you're here makes it easier. I reached out and pressed his hand. And I'll always be here. That doesn't transform. Life is full of surprises, Alex, and some of them are difficult, some are wonderful, and some, like last night, can be both at the same time. What matters is that we face them together. For a long time, we remained like that, sitting side by side, allowing the morning light to fill the room. I felt a deep sense of pride, not just for Alex, but for the bond we shared, a bond constructed on trust, honesty, and unconditional love. It was one of those rare, fleeting moments that quietly reshape your life, a reminder that the heart has endless capacity for comprehension and forgiveness. As he rose to depart for the day, he paused at the doorway. Thank you, Grandma, for listening, for being patient, for everything. His smile was gentle but full of meaning, and I recognized then that these words would remain with me forever. Always, Alex, I whispered, my voice steady but warm. Always. When he departed, the house was quiet again, but it no longer felt empty. The conversation, the trust, the love, it lingered, wrapping around me like a comforting embrace. I poured myself another cup of tea and sat by the window, watching the sunlight dance across the lawn. I thought about how life transforms in small, unexpected ways, how love can deepen in a single evening, and how courage sometimes arrives in the form of a simple, heartfelt confession. I recognized then that the evening had been more than a story of a late night and a hidden truth. It had been a lesson in understanding, connection, and development. A reminder that no matter how old we are, we never stop learning, never stop loving, and never stop discovering the depths of the human heart.